let's turn onto 119th Street and start heading towards the west, or the east rather. This is the Antioch Christian Church. They recently built a new sanctuary, which you can see is the tall building with a steeple on it. And then going up right next to them is what used to be called the Gulf Coast Bible College. This was a Bible college that was headquartered in Houston, Texas, and they were having problems getting students because of the high crime area in which they were, so they have since moved their area up here. They're going to change their name. I don't know what it's going to be yet, but it's no longer on the Gulf Coast, so it won't be the Gulf Coast Bible College. This street here I traveled many, many times because one of my first, well, in fact, my first job was out at a little golf course out here, which we'll pass in just a minute. And this was a little two-lane road, very bad road, which they have widened out and is now quite a major artery from Highway 62 into Moore. Over here is still part of the early one golf course. This is the tennis courts and picnic area, jogging trails. This is May Avenue that we're coming up on. And as you can see, there is some development going on in this area. Some condominium offices which are going up on the north side of the street. And other commercial development, as you can see. Pull over and stop here because we're right by the golf course area where I used to work. This used to be Golf Acres, which was a miniature golf course and driving range, and way far out in the country, which is no longer. You can see towards the back the home that used to be the home of the owners, Tom and Jean Benet. But now the area is just becoming a housing development. You can see the heavy equipment. There's also our very nice housing developments that are coming in here. The intersection that we're now coming up to is 119th and Pennsylvania Avenue. Still not too much development out this way, but it is coming. And a prime example of that is right here to the left on the north side of 119th Street, where you can see many streets being cut in for part of the Green Valley addition, which is also a part of Greenbrier. Many more houses in this area, as you can see, both to the north and the south. The south is just an area of acreages that have been here for quite a few years, some very large houses. And then we come into a series of duplexes. This whole area right at this intersection is being developed just right now, and it's really quite impressive. There's a rather large shopping center. to the north, which we'll see in just a minute. I'm going to turn north on 130 or 100, or excuse me, this is Western Avenue that we're turning north on. And you'll be able to see to the west the large shopping area just going into place, Greenway Plaza. The other side is a rather large church, Chartel Church of God, which has been here several years, and behind it, just north of it, is one of the more schools, which is Brink Middle School. Next to it, some more houses, and over on the other side of the street, some office areas which are just being built too. We're heading toward 104th Street in South Oklahoma City. Over to the east, or to the right, is the Rest Haven Cemetery. Very beautiful South Side cemetery. And we're going to turn back toward Pennsylvania Avenue on 104th. See over to the north side of 104th that there is a lot of development going in. This used to be the site of the 14 Flags Drive-In. It's Oklahoma's largest drive-in theater, and now it's just a bunch of houses. In fact, looking down the street towards the west, some development beginning on the south side of the street. We have over here Lakewood Terrace. On the north side is part of the Greenbrier addition, Greenbrier Kings Park. On the south side of the street is Greenbrier Kings Ridge, which is the newest of the Greenbrier additions. And then just some other commercial structures, including a church, before we come to the Greenbrier Office Park. Second phase of this is just now beginning. The first phase has been here for quite a while and is almost fully occupied. We're now back to Pennsylvania Avenue at 104th. And over on the west side of the road, right side, is Greenbrier Kingswood Edition. And we're going to go inside that because this is where we'll shortly be living. It's a very beautiful entrance, as you can see, with trees, the lake. There's a fountain in there. Of course, it isn't operating now, but many ducks, and just a beautiful area. The main street here, as you can see in front, is Greenbrier Chase. This will eventually encircle the area, but for right now it's approximately 100 homes in this area. It's not enough to constitute the whole development. I think initially, or eventually, they want to end up with about 400. Homes to this area are very, very impressive. Very large, minimum 2,500 square feet. Straight in front of us, the white building is the clubhouse, which has tennis courts and playground areas and swimming pools. heading back into the area where construction is still going on, which is near where our lot will be. We have an earlier tape showing this area just less than a year ago, when this house over to the right was just under construction. It still is being constructed, but it's fairly well finished, just waiting interior finish out. We're looking directly down on our lot, which is at the end of this cul-de-sac. Next door neighbor's house is just being built on one side. To the other side, this was finished on this street. Another very beautiful house. In fact, all the houses in this area are very impressive. Some of them are a little more unusual, but for the most part, they're very beautiful homes. I apologize for some of the bumpiness in this. It's just kind of hard to drive and take the pictures at the same time, so it's not something I advise doing. Past the main entrance, and we're heading into the northern part of the Greenbrier Kingswood Addition. You can see where the barrier is at the end is where the street will continue further north and then eventually turn around. Quite a few homes for sale in this area. People can't afford them. The home that we're looking at now, or what's left of the home that we're looking at now, is a home that literally blew up, a total electric home. I just thought that it was arson. There were some family problems involved in this home, and somebody apparently decided to get rid of the family problem. Fortunately, no one was hurt or killed, but the home, as you can see, is a total disaster. This here, Tuddington, is also a street that will continue into the newer part, and you can see the field out there, which will be future development. Home here at the end of the street is owned by some very good friends of ours, Ed and Shirley Klinsky. Again, as we look towards the north area for future development. might be interesting 20 or so years from now looking back at this videotape is seeing the different cars, because most of the cars that we're seeing now are either late 1970 model or early 1980 model cars. Cars that someday would be considered antiques, believe it or not. We're now heading out of the Kingswood Addition back to Pennsylvania Avenue. And over to the left here is a park area just being developed. Part of the Greenbrier YMCA will be an outdoor fitness trail, lighted, and behind it is one of the Moore schools, the elementary schools. We're heading back towards 119th Street in Moore, or in South Oklahoma City, which is 12th Street in Moore. Things look familiar is because we're just down this way a moment ago. We're heading back towards Western Avenue. This time, instead of heading north on Western, we're just going to continue back east into Moore. Again, a lot of new construction in this area. First of the Greenbrier areas back over here, which was the Greenbrier patio homes. They're the townhomes. And just shortly up this way, you'll be able to see on the right side a little sign welcoming you to Moore. Right there. And this is the border of Moore. The office area on the right side is some buildings that were initially built by Greenbrier, the East Lake Office Center, which is where, in fact, this building right here is where my original law office was. Coming up next to these two office buildings is Mercantile Bank Branch Bank, which is still under construction. This is back at the intersection of Santa Fe and 119th, or Santa Fe and 12th Street, which we had passed at the start of this trip. Trailhead. East on 12th Street, probably the busiest street in Moore. Fast Food Alley. Right here, there are just a bunch of residences. On the north, the Regency Park edition, and on the south, the Southgate edition. But you can see the extent of the fast food development. All up and down this street. The intersection here is Janeway and 12th Street. The area over to the south is the City of Moore Shopping Center. And next to it, of course, is some more fast foods, including a McDonald's. Here is Interstate 35, which not only a major Oklahoma City north-south area, but also a national artery. In fact, Oklahoma City ends up being quite a crossroads, both north and south and east and west, because of Interstate 35, which extends from far south Texas up to Minnesota, and Interstate 40, which extends from the east coast to the west coast. Both cross about 5 miles north of here, an area that we'll see a little later on. You can see south on I-35 towards Norman, the direction that we just looked. Coming up to Broadway and more. Turn south on Broadway. Moore is mainly a residential community, and so thus there isn't too much of a business district other than food places and some other commercial shops, shopping centers. Over to the west is the Moore Administration Building, and the the Moore Central Junior High. This site cleared is the site of the new Moore City Hall that will be built, and behind it is Moore's original school, Central Elementary now. It used to be the elementary school, junior high, high school, everything. The intersection that we're coming to is Main and Broadway in Moore. To the left, you can see the First National Bank of Moore. Moore's original bank existed since 1904. this is back down to 4th Street, which is 134th Street in Oklahoma City. And we're now going to head east on this street. Coming up is the Santa Fe Railroad tracks, which kind of divides Moore in half. Most of Moore's development took place along these railroad tracks. In fact, even the name of the city came from these railroad tracks. The first station attendant here was a gentleman by the name of Moore, and he put a little sign out so that they deliver his mail, and the place became known as Moore. See, this part of town is still just being developed also, although there is some residential and other retail development in this area. Over to the left here is Mercantile Bank, which is Moore's newest national bank. It's been in existence about 5 years. Now turning north on Eastern Avenue, and over to the right you can see Moore's High School, the only high school in Moore at the time, and some minor shopping center, just a little strip center right to the left. The intersection here is at Main Street and Eastern. The area back to the far right, which is under construction, is a nursing home, which is to be the nursing center where Julie's mother's mother, Billy Coffin, will be staying. Once the center opens, she will move in. Completion is expected just within a month, so it's not that far away. See a lot more new construction going on in this area. A lot of residential construction and a large shopping center. The growth continues to amaze me here because so much of this area is area that I traveled regularly and still do travel regularly, and yet every time I come around here something new seems to be being built. The intersection here is 27th Street in Moore and Eastern Avenue. 27th Street is actually 104th Street in Oklahoma City. And is kind of the end of Moore to the north. Moore does extend up to about 34th Street, however this is the last major north-south artery. We're now heading west on 27th Street, back toward the city of Moore. We're actually back towards the main part of Moore. Coming up again will be the Santa Fe Railroad tracks. Just over the last year or so, this bridge was built. You used to have to cross the tracks at this intersection, and now the roadway went under the railroad tracks. Make it a little bit easier to head onto this side of town. Going up on the right side is a very beautiful church, the new First Baptist Church of Moore. Very huge structure. And out in front of us is Interstate 35 again. We're going to get on the interstate and head south, back down into Moore. Out in front is the famous Smiling Water Tower. The bridge overhead is the bridge on Shields Boulevard, another north-south artery, not of interstate quality, but a major street in Oklahoma City, and one of the first north-south roads built through the city. So before, the railroad tracks used to divide more north and south. Now it's more Interstate 35 that does that. A lot of development in this area. We're getting off on the 12th Street exit. The bridge overhead is the bridge that we just passed over not too long ago. And the service road leads us past the City of Moore Shopping Center. Coming up to 5th Street. Into another part of the business district of Moore. The bank off to the left here is Exchange National Bank, Moore's second bank. It's the largest at the time. Just recently done some expansion. Have added a whole lot to the size of the bank. To the left here is Fairmore Park, which contains Moore's swimming pool. coming up the hill, heading west, is our church, St. Andrew's Church. And the pastor's residence. I'm going to pull up into the parking lot so we can get a little better look at the church. The school over here is Southgate Elementary School, where I attended 5th and 6th grade. And as you can see from the church, the building that we're looking at now is the old church, which is now the Parish Activities Center. It was the original structure built on this 10-acre tract back in 1964. And then we pan across the church, which was completed in 1979. Seats approximately. Of course, the majority of 10 acres is used for parking and for other church activities. So we head a little further west. The buildings at the end of this street are the Santa Fe Elementary School that we passed earlier on here, because the street that we're heading towards is Santa Fe Avenue. And as we head out of Moore and head a little further north, you'll get to see a little more of expanding Oklahoma City, because we're heading out of this outlying area and into the areas of the city that are expanding and will continue to expand even further. We're now heading north on Santa Fe. The school on the west side, on the left side, is more west mid-high. Again, you see the shopping center, which we earlier looked at. The intersection here is 119th. Or 12th Street. It's kind of confusing to explain it to people, since very close to this intersection is where it does change. Very valuable land right here on the left side, on the west side of the road. It's owned by a family that's been in this area for a long time. They won't sell it, so nothing's been developed there yet. Very similar to that piece of property is this farm property right here. The Leverage Farm, which has been here for many, many years. The family refuses to sell it also. This is 20th Street, which is the street that we live on, the street that we started our little trip on. And now we're heading north on Santa Fe, up toward Oklahoma City. That also is kind of confusing because just on the other side of the street is Oklahoma City. Somebody's not quite sure where they're going. The intersection here is 104th Street in Santa Fe. We're continuing to head north on Santa Fe up to Oklahoma City's main, or furthest east-west south side main street, that being 89th Street. The area on the left side is Ranchwood Manor, which was the exclusive luxury edition in the south side for many years. Homes are mainly 10, 15-year-old, 20-year-old homes. But it was kind of the exclusive area prior to the development of the Greenbrier area. Still are very large and classy and rival almost any sort of housing addition. To the right up here is the Oklahoma City Police Department Southside Station. And the cross street up here is 89th Street. A new shopping area just built in the last year to the left. We're heading west on 89th Street. To the left you see some condominiums and apartments that have just been built. They're still not completed. The first main street that we have up here is Walker Avenue. Now Walker doesn't extend down into Moore. The area stops at South 104th Street and doesn't extend further south, although there are some plans to do that in the future. The apartments that you see in front of you are part of the Brookwood Apartments. You see a lot of construction going along this street. They're planning on widening the street out some and also are putting in some new drainage for this area. Coming up to Western Avenue. lot of development is planned right in this general area with several banks planning on building and other commercial buildings going in. See how much the traffic has picked up as we get into this area. And we'll head further west. Try to avoid these people who are trying to turn off to the right side. You can see a rather large church, the Boatcrest Church of Christ, and again some more commercial development. Now this area, since it is south side, has been here for a long time, still has some of these little places, little houses where people still are living and trying to salvage some, I should say, country life still. I think once the price gets high enough, they'll start giving those up, moving out so this area can develop commercially. Lights up here are at Pennsylvania Avenue. We're going to head south on Pennsylvania over to my office, my law office, the Shadow Lake Office Park. Now, kind of gone there in a roundabout way. This is only about three and a half miles from our house. Another of the Moore schools. Moore has an extremely large school system. In fact, it's the largest in the state. It extends not only in Moore, but into South Oklahoma City. You can see the Shadow Lake Office Park, which is the office park where I do have my office. This is future development of the Shadow Lake Office Park, and some houses that will be built. Where this car is turning is Shadow Lake Drive, which is the actual address of my office, but we're going to turn into the parking lot at the Shadow Lake Office Park. Now this building, and in fact this whole parking area, wasn't here several months ago when I took some initial pictures of the office. You can see the new directory sign that they have just Lake Law Center, which is my office. And there is my office. Lake area. You can see the area on the north side of Shadow Lake Drive is all waiting for homes to be built in it. Homes on the far side of the lake, and on this side there'll be some more office space. So the area just continues to grow. Over on the east side of Pennsylvania, which is the direction that we're looking, is the Greenbrier Kings Park addition. Earlier looked at that before. We're back in the south on Pennsylvania towards the rest of the Shadow Lake Office Park. The intersection straight in front of us is Southwest 104th Street. Again, this whole area is to be developed as well. Plans to put a bank on this intersection. Possibly that will be done shortly. Now heading west on 104th Street to, again, an area that isn't very well developed yet. You can see over to the left the Greenbrier Kingswood addition. There's the burned out house that we had talked about, driven past earlier. You can see the area that they have for expansion. Out in this direction, things are popping. A lot of homes being built in the Shadow Lake addition. Now over on the south side of the street, the left side, is the Lake Ridge Run addition, which is another prestigious housing development here on the south side. There are many, many beautiful houses there. This road is still 2-lane, however, there are plans to widen it out shortly. You can see just all the nothingness out there. Areas that will be developed shortly in the future. We'll head north on May Avenue. You can see the whole area out here is just undeveloped land. However, there are developments to the north. In fact, substantial development. Street that we are up to now is 89th Street. Again, all kind of on the edges of the city. Having some camera interference.